Hello and welcome to Elets Innovation Talk, a unique initiative by Elets Technomedia, where we invite industry leaders to share about their initiatives, groundbreaking ideas, and innovations that are transforming their domains. And today we are delighted to welcome Antonio L Roca, Managing Director of Academica, who will be sharing his insights on how schools can become future ready to equip students for a fast changing world. Academica provides educational content and services to students and educational institutions in over 28 countries, including India. Recently recognized with the United States Presidential E Award, Academica International Studies Innovative Dual Diploma Program provides over 40,000 high school students from around the world an opportunity to learn a fully accredited US high school diploma. He leads the development and deployment of Collegia, a digital education operating system which connects learning communities. He works to innovate and develop digital solutions in education. Welcome, Antonio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Antonio, to begin with, if I may ask you, how can schools adapt their curricula to address the rapidly evolving needs of the 21st century? And what are the specific subjects or skills that should be prioritized to ensure that students are equipped for future careers and challenges?
That's a great question. I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have in education is figuring out how to prepare students for jobs that don't yet exist because of the rapid development of technology. So we believe that creating engaging student content that's adaptive to the student, that's relative to the student, that of course are teaching fundamental concepts like math, like science, like history, like language. However, delivering it in a way that's much more engaging and relevant to the student. We need to be able to bring technology into the classroom, but at the same time, be careful not to isolate the student. The teacher's role in the classroom is absolutely fundamental to being able to have a productive didactic environment where students are engaged in learning. But I think bringing technology into the classroom and creating courses and content that's relevant to what's happening today, not only reinforcing concepts that we've been teaching for the last 100 years. It's particularly in the area of entrepreneurship, because we want to grow small businesses. No matter what economy in the world we want to talk about, the largest players and the largest factor in that economy are small businesses. So we want, particularly at Academica schools, to teach entrepreneurship in order to provide students those skills necessary to start their own business.
Right. I appreciate, the kind of thought that you have to promote entrepreneurship that's much needed, in these evolving times. But also, we all know that every student is different. So, how can schools effectively implement personalized learning approaches to cater to these diverse needs and learning styles of students? And what does the kind of role technology play in facilitating this personalized learning?
Well, yes, I mean, personalized learning and particularly differentiated instruction. So we know that teachers are teaching to a bunch of students in the classroom that they're all at different levels. And historically, we've taught to the middle. We've taught to the middle because we don't want to leave the slower students behind, but at the same time, not go too fast or too slow that we lose the advanced students, if you will. This is particularly an area where technology can help because you can pull students out into smaller groups. They can work independently in an asynchronous environment with technology to really adapt to the student's level, to create questions of rigor and relevance that are very personalized to the student. I think that we can do much more. We can leverage technology to understand what are the personal interests of students. How do we teach this concept if I'm a big soccer player or I love soccer or cricket, right? How do we use these concepts to teach statistics? There's a lot of statistics in baseball, right? A lot of students struggle with some math and higher ordered math. So how do we make it more engaging and relevant to the student? And I think by personalizing the education, to student interests like sports, like dance, like politics, like voting, or anything else the student really likes, you can use those fundamental content areas or subject areas to adapting the content to the student's interest. That's going to result in a student being much more engaged in the curriculum. It's going to result in a student being much more interested in the content being taught.
Right, right. So, Antonio, we also know that, technology has actually, dissolved borders and boundaries and, connected students and teachers from across the globe. Now, in terms of, role of schools, so how do you see schools fostering a culture of global citizenship and intercultural understanding among students?
Well, the American International Certificate of Secondary Education, which is our dual diploma program in India, does particularly that by bringing students from around the world, having them in the same classroom, and really sharing ideas that are relevant to global citizenship, right? These students are the future leaders. They need to be able to understand the multicultural diversity that exists in the planet. We cannot live in isolation. So I think, particularly you've seen this in India with a lot of parents seeking an international education. Because they want, whether the student wants to study abroad or in another country or not, we all want our children, and I have 3, to have an understanding of what is going on in the world. How do we best do that? We bring students together because at the end of the day, students are so similar. It doesn't matter if they're from India, from France, from Argentina, or Africa. The first 2 minutes of any conversation between them may be a little awkward because they're shy, but after the first 2 minutes, they find commonality much more and much quicker than adults do, right? So I think it's really incumbent upon all of us in the education field to do just that, to expose students to global citizenship in an international curriculum. What's really nice about what we do with AICSE is we're able to bring that international curriculum to schools with very little effort from the schools, because we teach and provide all of the content. All of the U.S. teachers are brought to the home or the school of the student in our program. But I think we really need to focus, with the state of the world and where we are today, on finding commonality between cultures, between civilizations, and between people of different countries.
Very well said. I appreciate your thoughts there. But also, Antonio, education is not just academic, because we are living in a very complex and demanding world. So how can schools prioritize the social and emotional learning to support students' mental health, well-being, and resilience? And what are the specific social emotional learning skills that should be integrated into the curriculum?
Another fantastic question. Another big issue that we're dealing with everywhere, post-pandemic, especially so, right? We saw a lot of students depressed and facing personal issues during the pandemic because of the isolation, right? And that has continued to carry over post-pandemic. So when you talk about social and emotional learning, we feel it should be a cornerstone of what we're teaching, right? And that's why at Academica schools, we bring the social and emotional learning component every day into the classroom. So we've developed an application called Alaya, and it's a wellness application. And it comes with a curriculum and content where teachers deliver this content daily. And they deal with subjects like character development, self-awareness, self-management, sleep, exercise, mindfulness, nutrition. These are all essential components. And we know, I have a high school student myself, they don't sleep very much, but we know that sleeping is an important element. And unless we talk to our students and teach them on the importance of these elements, we can't expect them to practice them, right? So what we've done is we've created an entire curriculum from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, which deals, obviously, the subject matter perhaps becomes more complex or more intense as the student ages. But what's important is that we're talking about the social emotional learning of students, how they feel. How can we meditate or use thought exercises to bring ourselves some inner peace as we're dealing with all of these global issues? The world is 100x faster than when you and I were growing up. And the amount of information that students receive, good and bad, right, is enormous. We need to be able to provide tools to students, and by students I mean educators, to help students, right, deal with these issues in this very fast-paced environment. And I don't think it's going to get any slower. So I think these things are absolutely fundamental, that we focus on the core values of society and really help students identify, how do we deal with problems? How do we deal with problems because life is tough, right? And giving them, again, going back to the role of technology, giving them not only are we delivering it in the classroom through a smart media board with the interaction of the teacher, but we also have a personal application that is on their phones that they're able to access at any moment. I'm having a hard time. I had a fight with my girlfriend. I had a fight with my brother. Sibling rivalry, bullying, all of these issues can be dealt with and addressed or helped, right? For the student being able to process and deal with these issues. So we really, really believe that this is fundamental in what we're doing at our schools.
Right, very truly said. I believe that the educators also have a very critical role to play in implementing all these initiatives. So, how can schools ensure that the teachers have the necessary skills, knowledge, and support to effectively implement, innovative teaching practices and prepare students for the future? And also the kind of strategies that can be adopted to foster collaboration and professional development among educators.
Professional development, what a great subject. Absolutely. Professional development needs to be the cornerstone of any school, any network of schools, any group of schools. And because teachers need to be able to collaborate and together, and also receive instruction, if you will, on new technologies. Let's take AI. Let's take artificial intelligence, large language models, whether you want to talk about Gemini, or you want to talk about ChatGPT. How is this going to change the dynamic of the classroom? It has already changed the dynamic of the classroom, right? The way that teachers have taught historically in sending assignments home for homework, right? And now, how do we identify whether something is written by the student and something is written by AI or generative AI or large language models? You can't expect teachers to just understand and know right off the bat how to deal with these things. So unless you're providing professional development on strategies for implementing AI, and by the way, I believe that AI's got to be a huge part of what and how we're teaching, because it is incumbent upon us educators to teach students on how to leverage artificial intelligence. It's not going anywhere, and it's only going to get bigger and broader and more pervasive. And I do believe that the jobs of the future are going to be based upon an individual's ability to interact with AI and extract information from AI. The generative language models that are available today, and are only getting better, have an enormous amount of information. But if you don't know how to ask the right question, then you're going to get the wrong answer. And she who can ask the better question is going to be the one that's going to win or beat out competitors, other candidates for jobs, right? So I think being able to provide professional development to teachers on dealing with these issues, social emotional learning, artificial intelligence, bullying, being able to differentiated instruction, how to implement technology in the classroom in a way that's effective for both the teacher and the students? How can teachers use AI to develop lesson plans, more engaging lesson plans? These are all things that we deal with on a monthly professional development basis for over 6,000 teachers that are in our network of schools across the world.
Right. So, you've given us insights into, what Academica is doing, probably, in bits and pieces. So if you could share some of the, key initiatives by Academica that have transformed the education ecosystem according to you.
So you mentioned it at the intro. We developed a platform called Collegia. And what Collegia was built for was to collaborate. Going back to your last question about professional development, how do teachers collaborate better? How do we deliver professional development? One key way that we've done that is by creating an ecosystem under Collegia where all of our students worldwide and all of our teachers and all of our schools use this platform on a daily basis to be able to collaborate across jurisdictions, across states, across countries, right? So creating an environment that allows collaboration despite distance, I think, is absolutely pivotal for the schools of the future. We're going to have to connect teachers more than they are connected now, provide opportunities for them to share ideas, collaborate, and implement new innovation. Just because we've been doing something the same way for 120 years doesn't mean there's not a better way of doing it. I know that we get very, comfortable in doing things the same way, right? And I do think that the pandemic, if there was any positive portions of the pandemic, was to bring technology in the classroom, was to accelerate that technological innovation in the classroom. And I think we just need to continue it. So we've done that with Collegia and creating a collaborative space where, by the way, parents, teachers, students, administrators can all communicate and collaborate together. Alaya on the social and emotional learning and implementing that in the classroom. Aya, which is our artificial intelligence adaptive instruction advisor, that is available to all teachers and students in order to further the pedagogy that we believe is fundamental for success for the student, success for the school, and success for the teacher. Soft skills. Soft skills. Let's talk about soft skills. And I know maybe my time's up here, but I just wanted to mention it because, yes, you could be book smart. You could be really, really good at math, or you could be really, really good at science, or really, really good in another subject area. But if you lack the interpersonal skills to be able to articulate, to collaborate with others, to get in front of a group of people and talk, it's nerve-wracking, right? And it doesn't come natural for everyone. So we need to, just as important as the education and the content knowledge is going to be those soft skills and those interpersonal skills that students, that we need to teach. Why? Because students are more isolated today, because they're in their phones, because they don't go to the dance like we would go to the dance, right? They don't go to temple or church or, for these events, right? They're very isolated. So we need to pull them out of their phones, pull them out, and show them and teach them the soft skills. Not that technology can't help that. We can leverage technology to help. Like for instance, in some of our classes across in AICSC, we have speech and debate, right? So that students are required to get up, however difficult it is, and make a 2-minute speech, right? And by the way, since all of our classes are in English, the English of the Indian from Chennai, for instance, may be different than the English from someone from Madrid or someone from Paris or someone from Berlin. But I think that's the coolest part about it, right? We need to, going back to one of your other questions, figure out how do we create global connections between our students.
Perfect. I mean, what a great cohesive kind of initiatives you are undertaking, to bring students probably, connect to their roots and also, look ahead to the future. So wonderful, Antonio. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you and great learning about the wonderful initiatives that you're bringing about. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.